Hey guys, I have a problem. Need to start when you go to the big box store, you always have to come home with a flower, specifically a Phalaenopsis group. You know, anonymous group, of course. You know, we wouldn't like tell each other's names or anything like that. We would just stand up and say, hi, my name is, it doesn't matter, I have a problem with Phalaenopsis. So with that said, went to Lowe's today, building a fence this weekend, and went to go get some supplies. And while I was there, went, had to go check out the garden center because I also needed some of those tree stakes, for the trees, fertilizer trees. Well, you got to pass the orchids on the way to the outside. And I found 2 of them, and they were both in the same pot, okay? I am going to show you this one first and then tell you her name. Is that not beautiful? Look at that. Just look at the lip on that. Oh my goodness, she's just gorgeous. Let me set her back over here. Her name, and these are probably trade names. It is from this company here in Taiwan. I'm not going to say it. But then they named this one Phal, Taida Blush, Taida Pink Lucky. So there's that one. And then there's this little one, little miniature one. Look at her. Oh my God, look at that deep, deep pink lip. I have one that is similar to this, not quite the same. Hopefully one day they'll bloom at the same time and we can make a comparison on them, but same company. And then they call this one Phalaenopsis Hybrid, booth number, and of course, whatever, Phal Lowe's Berry. Look at that. Just gorgeous. So I'm going to repot them. Normally I would wait until the blooms die off and then repot. The reason I'm repotting now is because there was mold in the pot, and they both came in this cute little container just squished in there. I will be reusing this, of course. It's white, my color scheme. And unlike the last video, I was smart and got several different sizes of pots just in case. I did drill the holes in this one here prior to starting. I've already sterilized the fiskars. They're airing out now. We've got our cinnamon. Of course, I've got our mix. And also from the last video when I realized that the charcoal makes everything dirty, I decided I was going to rinse this and see if that doesn't help a little bit. So we shall see. So let's put on glove number 1 and see what we've got in the first pot. So I've had them soaking for a couple of hours in seaweed and MSU fertilizer. So we just dump of that. So I have that to put them in. They're both in sphagnum. Now this one, on just outward appearances, she has some really great roots. She's also got some aerial roots that are absorbing some water. So I may put them in, but I am a fan of aerial roots, so I'll probably just leave it, just because she does have such a great root system as far as what we can see right now inside the pot. So let's see, let me pull that. Oh look, there's a little decaying leaf. All right, so if you want to start this group, this Phalaenopsis Anonymous, or it could just be Orchids Anonymous, like Orchid Buying Anonymous, because it's not just the phals. Like, I know some of us will just go online just to look, and then you start putting stuff in a basket, and next thing you know, there's this package at your door, and you're like, where did you come from? Because you totally forgot. So leave it in the comments down below, and then, maybe we can meet once a week online via Zoom with screens out, of course. Nobody, we don't want to see each other's face because, we might meet each other in the store and be like, oh, I thought we talked about this at last week's meeting. So, all right, Miss Moss is in here so tight. So tight. Oh my goodness. I thought by wetting it, it would help get it out. And if I can just find a good spot to start getting it out, it'll come out a lot easier. But initially, I do want to be really careful just in case. I don't want to damage any of these roots in here because, like I said, they're a really good root system right now. But it is in here just snug as a bug. So, all right, let's start unwrapping her. And I always like to soak my orchids before I repot them, just so one, the roots become a little softer and a little more pliable and less likely to get broken during the repot. Also, just to give them that little extra boost of fertilizer. And I don't always use seaweed. I always use fertilizer. I don't always use seaweed. Seaweed is kind of, if I remember it and be like, oh, I'll add some seaweed to it, but I always use the MSU fertilizer. Again, can't tell you the ppm or anything like that because I'm not doing all of that quite yet. I'm not ready to get into all that. I just mix it about a quarter strength, and then I just let them soak for a couple of hours. And then this way, like I said, they go ahead and get some nutrients in them prior to the repot. And then the good soak also gives them a lot of hydration so that the transition is less stressful for them because they're not trying to absorb water and figure out what the heck, because we're putting her into a bark mixture and she is coming out of moss. So this way she hopefully will be set up for some success here. All right, this is starting to come out a lot easier. So, and if you do like repots like me, I have a whole playlist. I will link it in the tag above as well as in the description down below. Most recently, I repotted the Zygonesia Dove of Peace that I got about a week ago. Ended up there were two, I don't know if it was two plants in there or if it just split itself, but up, and we have the famous seedling plug in there. So fortunately though, there aren't really a lot of dead roots inside this pot, so that is actually a good thing. I do have a lot of, I think the root itself is good, it just got broken, whether it was by me unraveling it and pulling out the sphagnum or just because it was just so wrapped so tight it snapped itself, because they were really snug in the pot. In those little plastic nursery pots, and they were hard to get out of that container that they came in. So I did snap one of the aerial roots on this one, getting them out. So there was that. And we're almost got this out so we can kind of look at her root system and see what all is going on here. So far, I mean, she really does have some nice roots in here. So I think she will transition well, because what I'll do when I don't train them first and just take them straight out of their original nursery pot and stick them into my media of choice, which currently is a bark charcoal and perlite mixture, I will water her a little more frequently for the first couple of weeks and then kind of back off on watering so that she starts getting more and more used to a drier environment in between waterings. So all right, I think, let's see. Here we go. All right, and go ahead and leave any comments down below on how you grow your phals. Are you still in love with your phals like I am, even though you have other orchids that you've now discovered? Or are you one of those that phals kind of bore you now and you're no longer excited by them? And if that is the case, what caused you to become bored with them? I would be interested to know. Because I personally am still, I love the phals. If I had room for the nice big ones, I would have, oh gosh, my whole collection would probably be all phals, to be honest with you. I just absolutely love them. They just get huge, especially the ones with those big juicy leaves. Oh my goodness, they get so big. All right, I'll rinse the rest of that off under the tap here in just a few minutes. But do you see all the moss that came out of this? And it came in a pot that was half this size in diameter and in height. I just can't. I don't understand how they put so much moss in there for such a root system. So she does have some roots here that we are going to have to cut off. Like this one here. Is dead, and then she's got some up here that are dry, but at the top is good. So let's just do that real quick, and let me take these spikes out first. There we go. Oh, good. So I prefer these clips right here, the ones that have that hole in them so that it can go around the stake and the spike without damaging. These right here, look how tight they are. They're so tight. They can, I don't know, I just feel like they would damage the spike if you didn't put them on there correctly. So I'm not a big fan of those. All right, so let's get to trimming and see what we got here. So she's broken right there, so we'll just cut there. This one here, we'll follow it all the way in. And I know I've said it before, but if you do not have a pair of Fiskars or a nice needle nose cutting utensil to use when you're cleaning up an orchid, invest in one. It is so worth it. So worth it. I used to do it with these, with the secateurs, and well, they're a little bulky, they're a little thick, and I used to cut things that didn't have any business getting cut, get upset. All right, so even though this one here has quite a bit of growth on the bottom of it, it is broken in quite a few spots, and the very end of it is good. So I will cut it at its last broken spot and encourage spiking. That is the cool thing with the Phalaenopsis, is they do have a spiking root system, branching root system. So not much to worry about there. All right, so she is completely tangled up here, and there we go. And if you can't untangle them, don't force too much, because they will snap. Even if they're wet, they will still snap. Here's another one. Even though the bottom looks good, the velamen in between is going over, so we'll cut that piece off. All right, I think that's all we're going to do to that one. Nope, we are not. Where does this one go? All right. Well, I think that is all we need to cut on ma'am here. I am going to take this seedling leaf off though, because it's not serving any purpose. We'll leave this one on. No, we won't, because there's a little bit of black in there, just in case that got a little rotten. Get rid of that right now. All right, and then we'll leave the rest and we'll let her bloom. We'll leave the spikes on there for now. There's no need to take them off. If I see she's starting to kind of go downhill, I will sacrifice the spikes for a healthier plant, because if I don't keep her healthy, guess what I won't see again? The spikes. So, okay, you know what? We'll go ahead and cut this little piece here off, because he is not serving any purpose whatsoever. All right, so there is the first one. And let's just go ahead and spray that one down with some hydrogen peroxide. What do we want to do with this? Let's follow it up and see, make sure it's healthy all the way up. And it is, but she has got a big gouge right here. Just going to cut that. Now, if she was desperate in the root system, I would not have cut off these here that were just where the velamen was separating them. But she's not hurting for roots. So, matter of fact, I'm probably just going to cut these two at the bottom, just so make room in the pot for her. And then this way she can sit in there like that. But let me go ahead and spray her down and let her fizzle and sizzle while we get the other one out. And hopefully we have the same root system and we don't have to worry too much. And let's just cut there. That's kind of dry in between there, and that'll decay in the pot pretty shortly, so we'll just avoid that. And she does have a new leaf growing, but if it's typical Phal behavior, that leaf is not going to do anything more. It's just going to sit there, and then after the blooms die off and we cut the spike off, she will produce a new leaf. So, all right, so we're just going to set her back in here and let her sizzle. All right. And let's see what we got here. Let me just dump this out. Okay. All right, so root system again doesn't look bad. It's not as good as the other one. It's not as extensive. But this one had the most in the mold section. Let's see if I can get some of this here. You see that? Like, it was just all over the place. So, but her moss is definitely coming off a lot easier. And let me just hold her here. And then the top was just covered in moss. Just, yeah. just dead moss. It's just algae everywhere. Yuck. All right, so this one I may be sacrificing the blooms. Maybe not right now, but probably sooner rather than later. Because she does not look as healthy in the roots as her counterpart. So, but again, I'm not going to do it today. I will just keep an eye on her, and if I see she's starting to struggle, then obviously we'll cut that spike, because like I said, cut the spike for a healthier plant, and then we'll get those spikes again. Be greedy and hold on to those blooms. You may lose the whole orchid. So, what do you want? Do you want to see blooms again, or do you want to just be greedy and enjoy the blooms for now and then let her die off? I understand they don't cost that much, but still, why buy another one? Especially some of these, like you see them and then you're like, oh, I'll get it next time I come, and then you never find them again, ever. Except for you see it on somebody's Instagram post. You're like, oh my God, I had that orchid. Where'd you get it? And then they got it at some random mom and pop shop that's not even in your area. So, all right. There we go. All right, we're going to go ahead and we're going to take this out. Let's move those out of the way. And let's be careful with our spike. So, let's look at her roots, guys. Look at this. So her roots are not as good. She's got a lot of velamen a lot of roots showing, meaning there's a lot of dead velamen that was inside that media. So we'll get her all cleaned up and see what's going on after that. Okay. All right. Like I said, be careful with the spike. I can't believe the amount of moss that they put in there. So with her, because she is going to be struggling on the root system, I will be a little more picky on what I'm cutting. So I forgot to put those in there. So let's just let that sit for a second. And while that happens, I'm going to get some coffee. Is anybody else an all-day coffee drinker? Like, I feel like that's all I drink. So, but just in case we do have to cut the blooms before I want to, let's just take another look at how beautiful those things are. Look at that yellow contrast up against that pink. And I don't know if it shows on the camera that much, but that white edging, and then it just kind of gets deeper, and then lighter, and then this beautiful lip here. Just gorgeous. And she does have some more buds coming. I do expect this last one here to blast just because it's not quite big enough, but these two on the end should go ahead and open up again, unless, oh, and there's one back there I didn't even see them. These four should go ahead and open up. But again, I may end up cutting her blooms within the next couple of days, just depending on what we end up with as far as the root system, and then how she transitions into the media. So here we go. So we're going to be a lot more picky on what we cut and what we don't cut. I will be cutting off all of these that are just showing the root with no velamen. However, I will only cut up to where the healthy root is, so that I'm not losing any roots that can possibly branch for me and get her on the road to success. So, all right, let's see. Go down here and get some more of this nasty moss out of here and see what we got. So the good news is the ones that are still in there, that the velamen is still on, aren't soft. So that is a good thing. Most of the ones that need to be cut off, the velamen has already come off, so it's a lot easier to figure out where to cut. And a lot of these are kind of have little breaks in them, but like this one has a couple of breaks up here, but it's still growing down here, and we have quite a few branchers. So I'm going to leave that one on there, again, just because we need to be a little more picky on what we are keeping and what we are cutting. Again, I'm going to cut that one there, but I'm going to leave the rest of these here because we've got a brancher here. All right, so we'll spray her with hydrogen peroxide. let her sit. I'll rinse them off under the sink, and then we'll come back and we'll figure out what pots to put them in. And unlike the other one, I'm not going to chop off the bottom. Again, you can tell the difference between this one here. It does not have the root system that the smaller one had. This one here. This one is so much healthier than this one here. So we'll get them sprayed, let them settle in a little bit with the hydrogen peroxide, get them rinsed off, and we'll be back. Right, so we are back. I've got everything ready for the potting up. Just going to wipe these down with some alcohol just to make sure that there's nothing on them, because I am going to go ahead and reuse them. Go ahead. And as you can see, there was quite a bit. So I'm just going to wipe them off one more time, especially since there was that mold in there, just to make sure that I got all the spores off, just in case. All right, now we're going to do the small one first. So pretty sure she's going to fit into one of these two. So I think this one is going to be a little too small, just because she's going to sit a little higher than I want her to. But at the same time, she'll be really snug. So let's look at this one, because this one's a little bit taller. It's about the same in diameter, it's just a little bit taller. And she actually sits in this one a lot better with the root system. Yep, I think this will be the good one. All right, so let's cook up our media. And I'm going to put the glove on just because of the charcoal. So we will put some small fir bark in here. Make sure I get enough so I'm not going to run out. And then just kind of go through, make sure you don't have those big pieces. We'll put some of the charcoal in there to keep it nice and sweet. And then let's put some perlite. Like I said, I don't measure. Told you guys before, I just, till it looks good, till I think it looks good. And then we'll do that, and then I'll just mix it all up. And looks like that worked with the charcoal, because my gloves aren't all black like they normally are with the charcoal. So maybe I have found a solution. Yay! So I find that when you mix it with wet moss, it turns the moss kind of a grayish, blackish color, and it makes it look good. So what do I do with my pot, guys? Oh, orchid's sitting in it. All right. Here we go. Put a little bit of media at the bottom here. So, and this pot right here, again, it's a Repot Me pot. It's got a little bit of an air cone at the bottom. I'll leave a link in the description down below. I got it off of Amazon, as well as this one. Well, I got them all off of Amazon. These right here don't come with the holes in them. If you get these, they're solid. They just have the big holes at the bottom, so you will have to drill those holes. You can either use a hot screwdriver, hot nail, or a soldering iron. I just use a soldering iron. And put her in there. And let me see. Is she gonna fit? Yes, she is. All right. And we'll put that one in there, and then we'll leave those sticking out. So, and all I'm doing is I'm just kind of adjusting some of these roots that are kind of poking up from the pot. There we go. And then we'll just fill around. And that one is still wanting to stick out. Let's see, can I maneuver that one up under there? Yes, I can. There we go. All right, and then I'll just kind of hold her steady in the pot, and we will start just finagling it in there, making sure, again, that you're getting media all in the middle, so that, again, Phalaenopsis don't mind air pockets, but we don't want to put a lot of air pockets in there, especially when they're coming out of moss, because they will not appreciate all the extra air. As though if she came out of bark, probably wouldn't be as big of a deal to make sure that you don't have excess air pockets. But when they come out of moss, because they're used to that tighter media, you want to kind of replicate that to make sure that she doesn't reject the new media. All right. And like I said, some of these that were already aerial roots, I'm going to just leave them out. If a little bit of media gets on top of them, that'll be okay. But for the most part, they'll remain aerial roots. So and all I'm doing is just taking my finger and jiggling, and then I will pop it open a little bit and shake as well, because that just allows a little more space to get everything in there. And just gently push it in there. You don't want to cram it in there because, again, we don't want to break any more of the roots that might already have a couple of little breaks in them already from when we took her out. There we go. And then I know there's that test where you pick them up and see if they're potted in there tightly. Yeah, I still don't trust myself to do that. I admire people who have the confidence to do that and who actually succeed. I'm too chicken to do that. Especially on camera, because if I fail, oh my goodness, I would be so embarrassed. So, never tried it off camera either. I might try it off camera just to kind of see, build my confidence up, you know, maybe do it on camera one day. How many of you guys use that as your test to see if you've got your orchid packed good? Leave it in the comments below. And then where's my stakes? There we go. So, get the cotton ball off of there. Let's see, how are we going to set you this way? Back here, and be careful not to poke any of. And then when I do use these, I always do them this way, away from the spike, so that it's grabbing onto the stake itself, just so that it doesn't squeeze into the spike and possibly damage it. So, but let's just double check for air pockets. I think we're okay. No, we got a little bit of air in here. Let's just squeeze it and push it down. There we go. And all I'm doing is squeezing the pot to open it up to allow that media just kind of fall down in there. So, a little bit there. And you want your Phalaenopsis to sit right on the media. So you don't want to ever bury this part under the media, because you will create problems for yourself, specifically crown rot. And then your orchid will go bye-bye. And it is, you can save an orchid from crown rot. It's just not, it's not a fun journey to go on, and it takes it a long time, and you usually end up with cakeys. So if you can avoid it, it's just best to avoid it. All right. I don't think this one really needs a spike in there. I'm just going to put it in there anyway, just to kind of help hold her secure for, just in case. Let's see. Make sure I'm not on any roots there. All right. And again, we will place it that way to keep her from getting squished. All right, well, there is that one. Where is our tag? There she is. This was Lowe's Berry. So we'll put that there. But I think she's so pretty. Oh, I broke her lip. Oh, well, that's okay. Okay. Broke that lip, but that's okay. These lips are still there. And then we've got blooms here. And these smaller ones, guys, whenever I'm talking about losing buds during a repot while your orchid is in bloom, specifically your phals, these smaller ones, I do expect them to blast. They usually will blast. It's the ones that are almost ready to pop open that will usually go ahead and open for you. But the blooms themselves that are already open, usually they're going to last just as long. I haven't found that they fall off any sooner than they would if I had waited. All right, well, there is number one. We'll just set her here. Now then, let us get the big one out here. And I'm not even going to try another pot. I'm just going to put her in this pot. So, because I feel like that's the one that's going to have the best chance for all those roots, and I'll have to disturb her less, because I feel like if I put her in like this one, I'm going to have to up pot her sooner rather than later, and I'd rather just not mess with her at all if I can help it. And then how do I want this stake to go? Right here, so it'll be right up against the pot, and need that leaf, so she'll go kind of back. Okay, And let's put some media at the bottom, which will probably fall out because it's mainly perlite. All right. And again, I need to add a little bit more mixture and just do, I'm going to do the same thing. Just going to throw some small bark in there. And take out any of the bigger pieces because we don't need those hindering us during the repot. We'll pour a little bit of perlite in there for aeration. Not that you need it too much with the bark. And a couple of pieces of le charcoal. And then we'll just mix it together in our mixing bowl. I just think it's ironic. I always refer to my media as I mix it like I do when I'm cooking, and I'm doing it in a mixing bowl. So, all right. And do you guys get your media together prior to your repots, or do you kind of do it as you're repotting and deciding what you're going to do? That'd be an awesome thing to know too, whether it's orchids or whether it's any orchids, whether it's phals or any other orchid, would be interesting to know. So we'll pour this back in here too. There we go. And okay, and we are going to start kind of, well, really low with her. So just because I want all of her roots that I can possibly have in there in the pot, just to encourage as much growth as possible within that pot. So just get it all in the middle there. So, and again, I like to start low. I know I say this in every repot video, but I do like to start low so that as I am putting her in, I can always bring her up. It's a lot easier to raise an orchid up than it is to push it down once they're in the pot. So let's just get that media in there. And I know a lot of people use large bark with their Phalaenopsis. I usually use the small fir bark with my phals, except for my big girl phals. Some of them I will use the larger bark mixed with the smaller bark. Just kind of all depends on their root system when I get them. But I have kind of figured out how to water with the small bark. Whereas with the larger bark, I tend to wait too long. And then I have a lot of dehydration issues with the leaves and stuff. So I'm still kind of learning the larger bark. But the smaller bark, I've pretty much figured it out. I know how long I can go and kind of what it looks like and all that good stuff. So, all right. So let me stake her real quick. I wonder if, nope, she's not. She's going to have to go that way. Yeah. Let's see. Put you on that side. Yep. All right. And I'm going to set it right on the edge there. And got two clips we're going to use. One down here at the bottom. And then we'll use one right here at the top. Again, with the claws up against the actual stake, not on the spike. And I'm going to go ahead and use this black one that I had for the top part here, just to kind of help hold her the way I want her to sit. There we go. All right, now I can pick her up and see what we've got going on in here. Yep, pretty good. No air pockets, but I do need to put a little bit, now that I've raised her up a little bit, up under here. Kind of cover those roots up. So, and again, the base of her is sitting up over the media, not in it. She does have a couple of roots here that are exposed that I would like to be covered. But I guess we'll just have to deal with those. Whoops. All right, we almost knocked our new blooms. So, but as you can see, she is sitting above the media. That's her base right here. So, all right, well, I will give them a good watering tomorrow because they are still wet. And I'm probably going to have to use a wooden stake because this one here It is not very sturdy. Yep, so when I'm done, I'll put a wooden stake here in place of this metal one, or behind the metal one, and just use the metal one as well. And then we'll check on them here in a few weeks and see how they're doing. So if you like the video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, all that good stuff. Just helps my channel, doesn't cost you anything. I do reply to all comments. So if you do have any questions, let me know. Even if you reply, your video sucked, I'll reply back. So again, thank you so much for watching and have a great one.